As we go on to page 21, we're going to look at some more functions, but this time notice other items have been added to the x inside the absolute. But we're going to do t-charts, get some points, and plot these. Now, to give you a chance to get some hands-on here, I've set up some points, and since there were no fractions here, this would be ample. And for number 2, I did put in an interesting one right there, which is a 4/3, because that would make this a 0. And you want to have that on your graph. So take a moment now and fill these in. I wanted to include a -2 there as well, so I just added a -2. Okay, now let's do some plotting. -1, 2. So -1, 1, 2. 0, 1, right there. And then 1, 0. And then -2, 3, so -2, 3, +2, 1, and 3, 2. So you see we've made a nice little V there. And something you should note, that whenever you see something like this, where there's a x minus 1 within absolute signs, it's going to shift this regular graph actually over to a positive one. So we're going to see that often when something is in this form in later graphing, in later sections. Okay, let's do this one. So -1, 7, -1, 7, it's way up here. 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. 1, 1. Now, when we plot this, it's just a little bit over this way, right about there. This is like 1 1/3. And then when we have a 2, it's up 2. So we're just starting to see what it looks like a little bit. So like so, and like so. Now notice, because of the 3x, and this was a 1x here, this was much more spread out in terms of your y values. Here, since it's 3x, it's much closer to the line. So these are all things you want to be alerted to. As we go on to 3 and 4, you might ask, well, what values do we put in our x column? And the answer is you can choose any you want. If it does have a fraction, though, choosing something that would get rid of the fraction, as we did earlier, would be a good technique. And, you can have more or fewer. You want to get the trend of what the lines will look like. So let's pause and give you a chance to actually put these in. Now remember, as we work it initially, we respect the signs, but then whatever calculation we get, it comes out of the absolute signs as a positive value. Okay? Now the difference here is it's coming out as a positive value. Then everything in this column will be negative because of this negative sign right there. All right, so keep that in mind. So again, these are some values. Coming out of here, it's always positive. And this one it came out as positive. Then we applied the negative, so all these values would be negative, except of course the 0. So let's plot it now. -2, 3. So -2, 1, 2, 3. -1, -1, 4. Well, here's a case where I kind of didn't get my regular shape yet, so I had to put some more points. Let's do -7, which is out here, up 2. -6 is 1. Now -5 is 0. -4 is 1. Okay, there I'm getting my V shape for my absolute value, and it looks like so. Now this one, keep in mind, since the negative is outside the absolute sign, all these values are going to be negative for the y. So let's do some plotting down here. -4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now -2, I get -4 right there. -1, and here I need some more points as well. So x is 3 and y is a -1. X is 4, y is a -2. Okay. I have enough now to make my graph. So when you set it up and you say, well, what points do I need to choose? Again, there can be a variety of things, and you pick out the points. You want to sort of stay within the confines of your graph and not put such big numbers that it's way off. Okay, so notice when we see a graph that is absolute value, but it's negative out here, the graph will open up downward like this. Another interesting thing that we'll be working on later. Now I played around with this a little bit so we can actually get some points. So we'll give you some time to plug these in. Now remember, once it comes out of there, it's going to come out as positive. Then we add 2 to every item. All right, let's plot some of these now. And let's just do one here. So a -2, this would be a -4, plus 1 is a positive, -2 plus 1's a -3. Comes out of here as a positive 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. And that's how we do them all. So -2 and then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1, 1, 2, 3. 0, 3. 1, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2, 7. You might say we're missing our tip here. Yes, to get our tip we have to use the x value of 1/2, and that should be a -1/2, come think of it. Alright, that's better. So that it comes in right there, -1/2. So now when we draw our line, it looks like so. Now, another interesting thing about this is that when you see this, and these are sort of in the form of y equals mx plus b, this item right here is our b value. That is, so we see that in this case it lifts up the graph 2 units. So it's not the y-intercept as such, but instead of being, if there were no b value out there, that's a 2, it would have been here at this point down there. So just to note that too, something else significant as we continue our graphing. We're now going to take a look at some word problems involving slope and graphing. Although we don't do any graphing, we're going to do some equations. Now, for these, let's read the first one. John's computer, and for some reason I think they get a little mixed up here. Let's go with John's car here is worth $2,500 today. In 3 years, the car will be worth $1,000. Find the linear depreciation function and estimate his car's value in 4 years. So in word problems like this, we are to set up some ordered pair. So time is usually the x value, and then this is the amount the car is worth today. So in 3 years, our x value is going to be worth $1,000. And this is the general form that we'll be following here. So I went a little too close to the top here. So there's my ordered pairs. Today it's worth this. 3 years from now it's worth this. So we have 2 points of data. We could find the slope. So that would be 1,000 minus 2,500. And it's 3 minus 0. So this is going to give you a negative 1,500 divided by 3, which gives us then a slope of a negative 500. So now that we know our slope, f of t is our function symbol, equals our slope, negative 500 t, this is for time, and then since this is our y-intercept here, this is our b value, 2,500. So what will the car be worth now in 4 years? So we just put a 4 where the t is. This is 2,000 plus 2,500 leaves us with 500 as an answer. And this is the form these others will follow. What I'll do is I will show you the ordered pair as we go on. So Maria bought the car for this. The first year, 0, and it was worth $17,500. In 5 years, again, 5 is the x, it's going to be worth $12,000. And they want you to write an equation like this, following the same procedure. Let me give you a chance to do that. So we figure the slope here, subtract this from that, and get a negative 1,100. So there's our formula in standard form. Now they want to know what would it be in 10 years. So I'll just do a little erasing here and put in there 10 years for our t value. So this then becomes 11,000 plus 17,500 which will then give me $6,500 is the value of the car, or whatever you're dealing with. It works in a pattern. Here, this could have been a computer, and then 3 years the computer would be worth this, and this is a depreciation. That is, the slope is negative, so when you would do the graph, the line is going down, and eventually it's going to reach a zero value. Now, it isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it may, depreciate, but they are making it linear. Now, this one is very similar. Let me set up your ordered pair. So at the beginning, which is 0, it was worth $350. And now in 6 months, so we're changing it from years to months now. That's all right, as long as our units are the same, it's going to be worth $250. Find the price of the book after 12 months. So we do our slope formula. 250 minus 300 divided by 6 minus 0. So this is going to be 350 here, actually. That's better. So it's going to be a negative 100 over 6. Now, since this doesn't go evenly, I would just divide both by 2, and I would get from my slope a negative 50/3. So our function formula, a negative 50/3 t, which is now months, and there's our y-intercept here, plus 350. So when we put that into our formula, we're going to put a 12 here for the t. Now we're getting a lot of phone calls here, but let's check this out one more time. So we've put in our 12 months and then multiplied it by this, subtracted this from the 350, and just put that in your calculator, and the value of the book after 12 months would be $150, following this pattern. Okay, we are at 18 minutes. We'll call this completed as well, and pick up on the last one in just a little while.